with I think a lot of people is it's almost construed as.
Imagine being asked to fill the shoes of a legend, knowing that no matter how well you perform, some people will never accept you. That's exactly the impossible situation Vince Gill finds himself in today, and honestly, it's starting to look like the pressure might be getting to him. For those who don't know the full story, let me paint you a picture that might break your heart. Vince Gill, one of country music's most respected artists, was handed what seemed like the opportunity of a lifetime back in 2017. The Eagles, one of the most successful rock bands in history, asked him to step in and replace Glenn Frey after Frey's tragic death in 2016. On paper, it looked like a dream come true. But the reality has been far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. You see, Glenn Frey wasn't just any band member. He was a founding member of the Eagles, a creative force who helped shape some of the most iconic songs in rock history. Songs like Take It Easy, Peaceful Easy Feeling, and Tequila Sunrise weren't just hits. They became part of the soundtrack of people's lives. When someone like that passes away, they don't just leave behind an empty spot on stage. They leave behind a legacy that feels impossible to match. And that's where Vince Gill's troubles really begin. Despite being an incredibly accomplished musician in his own right, with 20 Grammy Awards under his belt and a place in the Country Music Hall of Fame, Gill stepped into a situation where he would always be compared to a ghost. Every night on stage, he's not just performing songs. He's performing miracles, trying to bring back memories that fans hold sacred while somehow making the music his own. The weight of this responsibility has been crushing. In recent interviews, Gill has talked about the restraint he needs to show when performing with the Eagles. Think about what that really means, or a second. Here's a guy who's known for his incredible guitar skills and soaring vocals, but he has to hold himself back because the songs aren't really his. He's like a world-class chef who's been asked to perfectly recreate someone else's recipes night after night, knowing that any personal touch he adds might be seen as ruining a classic dish, but the pressure goes even deeper than just the music. The Eagles announced that their current tour, called The Long Goodbye, will be their final farewell tour, ending in 2025. This means that every show Vince Gill performs might be his last with one of the most legendary bands in history. The clock is ticking, and the end is in sight. For someone who joined the band to honor a friend's memory and keep the music alive, knowing that it's all about to end must feel incredibly bittersweet. The emotional toll of this situation is something most people can't even imagine. Gill has spoken about his deep respect and love for Glenn Frey's solo work, not just the Eagles' catalog. This wasn't a business decision for him. It was personal. He genuinely cared about Frey as an artist and as a person. So every night when he walks on stage, he's not just performing for the audience. He's performing for the memory of someone he admired, trying to do justice to songs that meant the world to millions of people. And let's be honest about something that nobody really talks about. The fan reaction hasn't always been kind. While many Eagles fans have embraced Gill and appreciate the incredible job he's doing, there's always been a vocal group who see him as an outsider. Social media can be brutal, and I'm sure Gill has seen his share of comments from people saying he doesn't belong, that nobody can replace Glenn Frey, or that the Eagles should have just called it quits after Frey's death. That kind of constant criticism would wear down anyone, but it's got to be especially hard for someone like Vince Gill, who's used to being celebrated and respected in his own field. He went from being the king of country music to being seen by some as just a replacement player. That's a tough pill to swallow for anyone, no matter how successful they've been in the past. The technical challenges are enormous too. Glenn Frey's parts in Eagles songs weren't just simple chord progressions. They were carefully crafted pieces that helped define the band's sound. Gill has had to learn not just how to play these parts, but how to play them in a way that honors the original while still bringing something of himself to the performance. It's like being asked to repaint the Mona Lisa. You need to make it look exactly the same, but somehow it also needs to feel authentic coming from you. And then there's the physical demand. The Eagles' farewell tour has been massive, with shows scheduled across multiple years. For a 68-year-old musician, the constant travel, the pressure of perfect performances night after night, and the emotional weight of the situation would be exhausting for anyone. Gill isn't a young man anymore, and carrying this kind of responsibility into his late 60s can't be easy on his body or his mind. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that Vince Gill is genuinely trying his best to honor Glenn Frey's legacy, while also serving the music and the fans. In interviews, you can hear the respect in his voice when he talks about Frey and the other Eagles members. He's not trying to make the band his own or put his stamp on their classic songs. He's trying to be a faithful guardian of something precious, and that kind of selflessness is rare in the music industry. But here's what really gets to me about this whole situation. Vince Gill was already a legend in his own right before he ever set foot on an Eagles stage. He didn't need this gig to validate his career or boost his reputation. He took it on because he believed in the music and wanted to help keep something beautiful alive for the fans who love it. That's the kind of artistic integrity that we should all admire. But instead, he's found himself in an impossible position where nothing he does will ever be quite enough for some people. The sad reality is that no matter how perfectly Gill performs, no matter how much passion he brings to each show, and no matter how much the surviving Eagles members appreciate his contributions, there will always be that shadow hanging over him. He'll always be the guy who replaced Glenn Frey, never just Vince Gill, the incredible musician who happened to help the Eagles continue their journey. As the farewell tour winds down toward its 2025 conclusion, you have to wonder what this experience has cost Gill personally. Has it been worth the criticism and the pressure? Has it been worth putting his own artistic identity on hold to serve someone else's vision? Only he can answer those questions. But from the outside looking in, it seems like he's paid a higher price than anyone anticipated. The truth is, Vince Gill took on an impossible job, and he's done it with more grace and skill than anyone had a right to expect. But impossible jobs take their toll, and after years of trying to fill shoes that were never meant to be filled, it's not looking good for one of country music's greatest artists. He's given everything he has to honor a friend's memory and keep the music alive, but at what cost to himself? The Eagles' long goodbye tour will end. The curtain will fall one final time, and Vince Gill will have to figure out who he is after spending years being someone else's replacement. That's a journey that no amount of talent or experience can fully prepare you for, and it's one that breaks my heart to watch unfold. If you've been moved by Vince Gill's story and the impossible situation he's found himself in, please hit that like button to show your support for one of music's most underappreciated heroes. Share this video with anyone who loves great music and understands the sacrifices artists make for their craft. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories behind your favorite musicians. Sometimes the most important stories are the ones happening right in front of us, and Vince Gill's journey with the Eagles is one that deserves to be told with the respect and understanding it deserves.